So there's been a lot of things that I've been really enjoying this spring so far, and I really wanted to recommend them to you. I'm going to start with a podcast first because this is probably one of my biggest favourites of the whole season. It's called In Good Company, and it's a podcast hosted by Uwagba.
This podcast is all about providing you with the practical advice and fresh ideas that will help you work better. Aided and abetted by some of the smart, successful, creative women I know.
She's one of the best interviewers I've ever listened to. Not only is she really eloquent, but she also asks really precise questions that allow the interviewees to give a lot more detail. Also, she has a very soothing voice, so that is another bonus. The podcast really delves into how the women have developed their careers, and I've learned so much from it. It's especially useful now as I've just started working myself. Even if you're not working, I think it's still really fascinating. There's a lot of general life advice in there as well. There's also an Agni Aunt segment at the end of each episode where listeners send in career-related questions and Ortega gives advice that's both practical and very empathetic. So yeah, highly recommend. I've listened to almost every episode now, so I'm running out. On the theme of finding inspiration from finding out more about how people work, I have a few reading recommendations. And the first is The Creative Independent. It's a website which has a lot of interviews with creative people and resources. If I ever need a burst of motivation or a spark of creativity, I find that spending even just 5 to 10 minutes reading an interview on that site really helps me. So it interviews people from all kinds of creative fields, but I think the ones that I've found especially interesting so far are ones with 2 filmmakers, Desiree Akhavan and Sandy Tan. So I'll link those down below. Hay fever's really kicking in, so I might sound a little bit congested. Similarly, there's another website called Girls in Real Life, which I've really loved recently as well. It's described as an all-girl interview series exploring the lives of talented women. It's a place where women working across art, design and culture can have candid conversations. So also recommend that if you enjoy the other 2. And I have one more reading recommendation, and I'm really excited to talk about this one. It's a novel that I adored reading, and it's called Daisy Jones and the Six, and it's by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the first book I've read of hers, and I was very impressed. It's told through an oral history of interviews, emails, lyrics, which is a format I haven't really come across before. I must admit I was a little bit hesitant about it, whether it would read well, but she pulled it off so well. I'm going to quote Waterstones here. So it tells the story of the stratospheric rise of a fictional band whose sound defined an era and whose sudden cataclysmic split left a trail of unanswered questions in its wake. They also describe it as a nostalgia fueled trip into the world of 70s LA at its hedonistic peak. I thought that was a really good way to describe it. It explores addiction quite heavily, and creativity, and I guess the relationship between the two. I'm someone that's not very familiar with that era, but I found it so interesting. I found myself very invested in the characters and kind of gripped by their story. A lot of the reviews mention this, that the band really feels like they're real, and that they wish that they could hear the music. She actually includes the lyrics at the back, which I thought was very cool. But I believe it's going to be made into an Amazon TV show, produced by Reese Witherspoon. She has a real eye for these things. So I guess the music will have to come to life. Yeah, I can't wait for that show. Speaking of music, I have a couple of recommendations. The first is a very underrated indie band from Atlanta, and they're called Lunar Vacation, which is such a cool name. I'm not great at describing music, so I'm gonna quote someone. Their music's been described as a fusion of dreamy melodies, surfy progressions, and psych rock jams, and they describe it themselves as pool rock. Yeah. I like all of the songs I've heard from them, but my favourite is Blue Honey. Feel like I'm on a summer road trip with my best friends, the breeze in my hair, you know. It feels very carefree, and they also make really aesthetically pleasing tour videos, so check them out. Another favourite is Sky Ferreira and her new song Downhill Lullaby. Release in 6 years, so it's been a long wait, but well worth the wait. It's a very hauntingly beautiful song, it's orchestral, her vocals are just incredible. She's a real perfectionist of her music, so you can hear all of the fine tuning that's gone into it. I also feel very fond of Sky because back in the earlier days of YouTube, one of my best friends and I, we made a music video to one of her songs, and she actually shared it on her Facebook, and she was very supportive, and she seems like such a sweet person, so I always feel very grateful for that, and it's great to see how she's grown. Finally, I have a film recommendation, just the one. And I saw this at the very beginning of spring on the first weekend, and it's Jordan Peele's Us. I was blown away by Get Out when I saw that, so I had very high expectations for this film. And although it was quite different, it definitely met them. He's really creating this horror genre of his own, a kind of social horror. I'm gonna keep this brief, but the plot is a woman called Adelaide. Her and her family, they go to Santa Cruz, I think it is, for a holiday, and it's where she had a traumatic experience as a child. She's very reluctant to return. And things start to unfold. They notice they have their own doppelgangers standing on the driveway of their house, and it all, kicks off from there. The film has a very interesting twist which puts it all into a completely new perspective. I love reading all the theories where people piece together all the little details that built up to that particular moment, or revealed it, I suppose. Yeah, very thought-provoking film, very, very well acted, and the music is amazing. I am a slight scaredy cat with horror films, but, I say slight, I'm quite a big scaredy cat, but I can handle this, so even if you're not, the biggest horror fan, I still give this a try. I'm so excited to watch it again, knowing what happens, so I can spot the little details throughout myself. But yes, that is it for my spring favourites. I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope that you find some new things that you might enjoy through this. I love watching favourites to get recommendations myself, so let me know if you'd like me to do some more. I'd also love to hear your favourites. What have you been enjoying so far this spring? Gosh, I'm melting, even though I'm wearing a dress, and it's only April. What is going on? Okay. I will be back with a vlog next time. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you soon.